It was roughly a year ago today that the Davante Adams trade happened. The Packers gave their superstar wide receiver what he wanted when Adams requested a trade to the Raiders. They let it happen. Davante Adams was traded for a first and second round pick to the Raiders. The Raiders also paid Adams a ton of money. So I figure a year ago it happened. Let's now look at kind of a retrospective and see who won the trade, who lost it, and where do we go from here. So first, what was the trade? Well, the trade was for pick 22 and 53. The Raiders acquired Davante Adams. Now, the Packers, with those picks, with pick 22, they drafted Quay Walker. You see, though, that all I have written underneath is pick 53. Why didn't I write a name there? Well, because they did not select anybody with pick 53. They traded that pick. The Packers traded two picks in the 50s, Alec Pierce and Ed Ingram, for Christian Watson. So they gave up multiple players there. Alec Pierce was eventually traded again, so it wasn't actually the Vikings who selected Alec Pierce. It was the Colts who got him, of course. But that's the pick they traded away. Those are the players they ended up being. The Packers feel very happy they were able to get Christian Watson, but that's the full trade then, is they also gave up an additional second-round pick, but got Christian Watson. So this is the final trade then, as it ends up actually being a kind of a two-player for two-player trade. The Packers received Christian Watson and Quay Walker. The Raiders received Davante Adams and Ed Ingram. And again, it's worth mentioning the cap space situation as well. The Packers were also able to get roughly $20 million or so, although they didn't end up spending it the way I think many people thought they would. So there's also that. You look at who the Packers ended up getting after that trade, it wasn't a ton of talent, really. I mean, they got like Sammy Watkins, who I think they expected a little bit more from, but, he's been hit or miss over the course of his career. They also, were able to re-sign several players that offseason, including Preston Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Jair Alexander, and Ellington Jenkins, who, some of those signings happened before the trade happened. So I think you could argue, well, okay, does that count towards it? But the answer is maybe. It's totally possible that part of why they went out and paid Aaron Rodgers the money that they paid him, $50 million a year, $60 million in cash that first year, part of maybe why they felt they could do it is because they knew they would be off of the books for Davante Adams, and if they had given Adams a big deal, they wouldn't be able to pay that much money for that to happen. And again, it's impossible to know exactly how much cash they had to spend. But the reality is, who won this trade so far? It's possible to say neither team won. It's possible to say both teams won. First, let's take it from the Packers' perspective. Then we'll take it from the Raiders' perspective. The Packers, I think, really were hurting without Davante Adams towards the beginning of last year. And it's also worth mentioning there could have been a scenario where they, instead of getting two defensive players in the first round who didn't end up playing particularly well, maybe there's a world where they, at least, in their rookie year, maybe there's a world where they keep Davante Adams and still draft Christian Watson, and then they look fantastic. But again, that's kind of a hypothetical scenario that's easy to say in hindsight. At the time, this is what they did, so we can only judge it off of that. Would they rather have Davante Adams and Ed Ingram, or would they rather have Christian Watson and Quay Walker? Well, as of right now that you're in a situation where Rodgers is gone, maybe you would rather have Watson and Walker. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Walker out of the draft. I didn't think Walker did much as a rookie, so he showed some flashes here and there, but as a whole, I didn't think was particularly good. That's just my evaluation of him personally. So, personally, I don't value that pick super highly. There still is some value there. I just don't value it that highly. It's the Christian Watson versus Davante Adams thing, and I don't know. Listen, Watson, you got 3 years of him on a rookie deal. He has really good potential, but I take the superstar wide receiver right now, personally. I still take Adams, even if it's a shorter shelf life with him. I don't know. That's kind of the way I view it, because I value him higher if I'm the Packers, who, again, were trying to win a Super Bowl last year, and if they had Adams, they probably make the playoffs. I assume they make the playoffs if they had Adams, a consistent number one option throughout the season. So that's kind of how I view that. From the Raiders' perspective, would they rather have Christian Watson and Quay Walker? I think no. I think they're happy with Adams. Again, Adams isn't 35. I mean, he's not a young guy, but I personally think that getting the elite receiver is still worth more, even if you have to pay him, than what the Packers have received. Now, again, if they knocked both these picks out of the park and had 2-star players, okay, now there's an argument. But as of right now, I think that I'm going to say the Raiders have won to trade, but there's still time. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.